This is a certified hood classic.
You ever feel like modern video games are giving you unbearable pain? They used to be moderately enjoyable, now they're just moderately unenjoyable. That's because of the government of the USA. Basically, games today are hot trash because the CIA wants them to be. Gamer oppression is real, and the United States government is perpetrating it. Sorry, BLM
LGBT
white people, but gamers are the most oppressed class. In the grand scheme of things, video games are not that important and don't deserve your attention. Yet you're watching this video, so it must mean you have some interest in video games. Probably. I mean, it would be pretty weird if you didn't. There used to be a time when persecution by the revolutionary government of the US did not exist, but now we're out of the frying pan and into the fire. We, as sovereign citizens of the internet, are suffering under liberal tyranny. This regime has been allowed to accrue power for decades and is now using it to crush dissidents. That basically means, as monarchists, we pose an existential threat to the non-monarchist regime in Ottawa, so the Laurentian elite have to destroy us. However, you can't destroy monarchism. Monarchy is eternal. Does all that describe the video you're about to watch? No? Good. You don't need reason to understand the anti-rational rhetoric of a trained rhetorician. You better keep watching, because I'm laying out the story-based conspiratorial type imposition of the new American order. Landed gentry is now the only resistance. So without further pomp and ceremony, on y va. In the past, video games used to be free from political subversion and more like... That was video games when they were unsubverted. An unsubverted entertainment medium is to the CIA what children are to a Minecraft YouTuber, except the CIA likes children too. Under the glowing influence, video games are now like, why the fuck is there a furry? The reason why this happened is simple. The revolutionary liberal government of the US needs to convert everything to liberal orthodoxy to feed their 1776 liberal revolution. Video games used to be a medium that was practically untouched by the revolution. However, if there is something that isn't pushing propaganda, it can push propaganda. So the FBI and CIA filled the empty political space of video games with the American revolutionary agenda. Everything paused you see today in video games was deliberately made by the Pentagon and your personal FBI agent. What you have to understand is that the elites direct culture. Contrary to popular belief, culture is downstream from politics. Politics, the government, the structure of the government shapes the culture, not the other way around. So when Lord of the Rings hobbits become transracial, that is a natural function of us living in a liberal democracy with liberal elites. That is not because of forced diversity. So-called forced diversity is a natural process, not forced. I can tell you culture is astroturf because nobody would unironically consider the Mona Lisa, painted by Mona Lisa, a masterpiece that deserves all the attention it gets. When I look at the anime picture, it gives me more serotonin than looking at an average Italian woman. Everything with soul is slowly getting replaced with soulless modern Californian CalArts trash. You can see this in action today. Men today are playing the child predator simulator called Genshin Impact, instead of being real men and playing solitaire on their Samsung smart fridge. Although a smart fridge is too modern, the best game is watching paint dry. I broke my high score while making this video. Another example is how they replaced TF2 with Overwatch. There was a conspiracy by the United States government to install Overwatch as the top team shooter to kill Team Fortress 2. In order to help Overwatch achieve market dominance, they made half the characters Coomerbait or Jailbait. It was done so that men would develop autogynephilia and therefore would need to play Overwatch to satisfy their sick fantasies. They also assisted this with Day 1 DLC source filmmaker adult videos, so young men would be hooked. Blizzard deliberately and purposefully gave their animators money under the table to create this stuff on X-Hamster. Why did Overwatch get so much adult content when it was just released? Games have to exist for years to get lots of it. But Blizzard, assisted by the United States government, used this guerrilla marketing campaign to kill TF2. The reason why they wanted to destroy TF2 was simple. TF2 chat is totally uncensored. Thus, you can say the N-word. The government wants to control every facet of your life, and if you can say whatever you want in TF2, that's a problem. This is precisely like my favorite novel, 1984 by George Orwell. However, playing TF2 is like injecting black tar heroin directly into your brainstem. So despite the best efforts of the FBI, the Pentagon, Israel, and Jeff Kaplan, TF2 was simply more enjoyable than the crapshoot of a barely functioning gacha game called Overwatch. But Jeff Kaplan, after getting blown the fuck out by a 14-year-old spaghetti monster, was so ass-mad that he decided to illicitly hire Discord users to cause early life trauma to TF2 by flooding it with bots, making the game literally unplayable. TF2 in 2021 gives me nightmares. Gaben, please fix the bot problem. From the beginning, Overwatch was astroturfed by the US. They even funded its entire esports scene as a way to send energy to the Antichrist. They got big money sponsors for their games, while TF2 got nothing and continues to receive nothing. The reason big money is pushing esports is because stadiums gather emotional energy and shoot that energy into the sky for the Antichrist. Stadiums, when looked at from above, looking like giant eyes. Its eye shape allows it to direct energy. The problem is, young men aren't interested in sports anymore, so they can't fill the stadiums. Instead, they're now hosting public esports to continue to fill them for the Antichrist. Adding smoking hot babes to video games has to do with the enslavement of the mind. If you can't control your desires will control you. If the power plant shut off today from an attack, which, oh no, I sure hope that doesn't happen, young men would get off the screen, go outside, and commit acts against this regime, which is why the regime definitely does not want you to take a stand and go underground. Find the tunnels which house fiber optic cables and do something like, I don't know, there's any number of things you can do to cut wires. Anyways, Valve adds the 16-year-old girl to Dota 2. I see what's going on there. Everybody sees it. The reason Valve won't fix TF2 is because the CIA told them not to. It's not only enough to see the truth with two eyes, but to also see it with your brain, which is your third eye or something. A lot of people have both eyes shut, and that's very disappointing to see, so let's talk about them. Remember Gamergate? Gamergate 2 was the 2016 election, and 3 was January 6, so you can consider this video Gamergate 4. Gamergate 0 was 9/11. In internet history, Gamergate was comparable to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. It was an event so important, people tried to get the president to tweet about it. This video actually has nothing to do with Gamergate. It's amazing how there was a bigger reaction to ethical manslaughter in video games than the government's taking away your bodily autonomy. As a civilization, we don't have our priorities straight. My priority is arguing online about how Kaiser Wilhelm II was a good leader. So yeah, basically, I'm going to save Western civilization. Not like it can be saved in the first place, because it was lost after the Central Powers lost World War I. YouTube commentators like Nick Rekieta are like, I can wear the masks, I can stay at home, I can eat the bugs, you can shut down my business, I can ferme vacciner, but if you make Superman not straight, I'm going to riot. Except rioting is too much of a chat activity for their soy-filled brains, so they instead make 12-hour-long live streams. In that way, sports fans and gamers are not the same, because sports fans know that it's about drive, it's about power. War isn't organized slaughter, it's organized life-changing moments for young men. Who could be against that? World War I soldiers were sharpened from war. They were confident in both themselves and their civilization. Their faces bore marks from each year of fighting. After 80 years of peace, we have been reduced to utter materialism, and it shows in us men today. Fat, chubby cheeks, overweight with beards, covering their non-existent chins, and wild senpaku eyes. And don't forget the smile. The two types of people the liberal regime fears the most are men fanatically dedicated to defending their honor, so basically Ethan Ralph, although you really wouldn't want to be like Ethan Ralph, and men fanatically dedicated to their ideology, like the Taliban, although you probably would not want to be like the Taliban either. But be a fanatic monarchist, like me, because the First World War, which is our founding myth, was only a minor setback, and Kaiser Wilhelm II will be avenged. I am a radical ultra-reactionary who is fanatically dedicated to his ideology. Trudeau hates me. Men like Nick Rekieta may oppose progressivism, but they aren't fanatic believers in an ideology, so they will never pose a threat. They're just as useless as soy boys. The man with no car insurance says,
I just wanted my circus. My bread and circus, they won't even let me have that. It's too offensive.
Well, that's too fucking bad. It's like Evelyn said, don't oppose parts of liberalism, oppose liberalism in whole. Rakeda and Josh have a fundamentally liberal or libertarian way of viewing the world, and so long as they continue to accept parts of liberalism, they will never accomplish anything against this liberal regime. Liberalism loves the soy boy, I'm British, because they are milquetoast moderates who eagerly accept the slow boiling of the frog. The CIA promotes them through MKUltra psyops to make you love consuming. Through mass media, liberalism has essentially institutionalized bread and circus to distract the population. There's a lot of different opinions you can have on Star Wars, but have a different opinion on liberal democracy and you can be eviscerated by this so-called tolerant regime. Through flaccid moderation and bread and circus, the soy boys allowed the regime to get a stranglehold on media with no opposition. So let's talk about that. In practical terms, internet censorship can be divided into two periods, before November 8, 2016 and after November 8, 2016. On that day, 5 years ago, Ronald McDonald, Donald Trump, was elected Burger King. Hillary Clinton thought he won because the plurals were posting Pepe, but now that the dust has settled, we know the actual reason he won was because of the spirit cooking scandal. It didn't matter that memes did not get him elected, because Silicon Valley companies were pressured by their female employees and California coders to begin cracking down on funny internet content, i.e. right-wing content. This Californian campaign was started because they were scared of another Ronald McDonald. They began the internet dark age as a way to get rid of participation in the underground Coke tic-tac market, and also as a way to eradicate all conservative ideas. This compulsive need by the monolist elites to control every part of your life in order to change the weather can't be accomplished in real life. Instead, Mark Zuckerberg is creating the Metaverse. If you've played Super Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, or on the off chance have actually seen The Matrix, the Metaverse is exactly like that. Unlike real life and TF2 chat, getting banned from the Metaverse for saying the N-word will be like getting banned in real life. In other words, if you get banned on the Metaverse, you get banned in real life. What are the best ways to stop climate change? Eat less meat, ride your bike more, and recycle. In your pod hooked to the Metaverse, you will receive the bare minimum to keep you alive, transport, and your waste will be reprocessed and fed to... Actually, that's too gross to put in the script. You will be trapped in your cell with your VR headset strapped on all day, and if you complain about these conditions, ignorant fools will say that you're an entitled, petulant child because, quote, children in Africa can't even eat VR headsets. This is the world Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum wants. They also want mass internet surveillance and real internet passport IDs. Beijing Biden's Chinese secret police can't pull me over for browsing 4chan without a license because I was traveling, not driving. If you're traveling, it means you don't need a license. The end goal of mass surveillance of the internet is real IDs so you can't make 30 Twitter alt accounts to ban evade. This is already the reality in a futuristic Ganotopia called Worst Korea, ran by a literal feminist cult. In South Korea, you literally can't make an account on anything without your internet passport ID. They released a Memorpica that Westerners were interested in but couldn't play because our IDs will be attached to the Metaverse, and that's not quite ready yet. Google is called Google because they want you to say Goo Goo Gaga like a baby. They want to infantilize you to make you totally reliant on the government. As a sovereign citizen of the internet, I firmly declare that I don't need a license to travel to, Reddit, or to Metaverse Las Vegas so I can gamble with Ethereum and illegal NFTs. Right-click and save.
You know how much I sacrifice?
Your ability to browse the internet is predicated on the mood of developmentally stunted politicians with a god complex. If they wake up on Monday and feel like censoring the internet, then basically, fuck you. And if they wake up on Friday and don't like how Russia put their country so close to their military bases, then basically, you will be conscripted to fight World War III. However, it's not enough to just eradicate right-wing ideas. People will still have a conservative disposition, so instead they prop up people and ideas that are harmless. I watch Morgoth Reviews, a true monarchist, and look, Jordan Peterson is suggested next. I put on conservative power music, goes hard, and there's Jordan Peterson again. I'm enjoying the Jolly Heretic with my pint of Kentish ale, and before I know it, Juden Peterstein is stealing my screen space. No doubt you're watching this fucking video and there's a Jordan Peterson lecture coming right fucking there. The reason he extensively studied the Bible was to become omnipresent, like God. Evidently, the support Peterson gets comes from a higher power. YouTube wants us to watch Peterson because he does not pose a threat to the system. The reason why any intelligent person would watch Peterson is beyond me, because he's literally a professor who spent the majority of his life in academia and worked for the UN. You're literally taking advice from the enemy, or like taking the advice like you should like, comment, and subscribe. So now that the cohesive, ultra-realist narrative is forming, it's time to put a neat conclusion on all that. It's impossible to change a liberal culture into a conservative culture while liberals are still in power, so you're not only encouraged to become a fanatic monarchist, it's necessary. And think about how great the video game industry would be under a monarchy. Monarchist video games are going to be so much better. Instead of forcing everyone to be diverse, everyone will be forced to have Wilhelm mustaches, even the woman. Instead of getting offended on the behalf of living people, you'll get offended on the behalf of people who died 1,000 years ago. Truly, a more sane system. Or just stop worrying about video games in general, because they suck. There's no point in complaining about video games getting woke while we're under a liberal regime. Evidently, my time on YouTube is limited, and you should follow me on Odyssey and poa.st. Some people call it Post. And quite honestly, if you're not on the Fediverse, then what the heck are you doing?
We are deeply concerned about what we are hearing from the Uyghurs,